スタジオ3万
This is an interview from years ago where a reporter asked Sisqó, is there a real life inspiration behind the Thong Song? And this is apparently his answer. Have you heard of this?
I've not.
This is one of the greatest things I've ever read. So, it was a cold winter's night.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Nerd OD podcast with your host, Reg.
And the less musical Dan.
I'm waiting 1 week, Dan. We will just have a pure musical only episode where everything gets discussed in the style of song.
Ooh, I like it. Would it be like Hamilton style or would it be more like a Disney movie?
I think it'll be a Nerd OD special where we have a mix of all. It needs to be like that. So I think the most important topics will be covered in the style of, a heartwarming Elton John classic. And then the really exciting stuff can be done in like a Hamilton rap.
I like it.
I don't know why I've set myself up to this. No, me and Ash talked about this tonight. So what did we watch the other night? We watched something the other night and it random. Oh, we were watching Gogglebox and there's a new show on Apple TV, isn't there? And it's taking the mick out of an old musical film, and it's got what's not Peele. Who's the other guy from Jordan Peele and Key? Him. He's in it as one of the main guys, and apparently they go walking in the woods and they go across this bridge that's covered in mist, and then they arrive in like a 1950s like weird village where everything's done in song.
Okay.
And Ash was like, you know what, I really want to go see another musical. And I was like, yeah, because, we have been spoiled with the ones we've been to see. Because we've been to see, like, The Lion King, which was just phenomenal, and then Book of Mormon, which was amazing.
Sure.
And we're like, we need one that's going to, like, match that or top that. And apparently Hamilton's, like, the greatest ever musical that's ever graced our presence. So I was like, yeah, we'll give it a watch on Disney+. See what it's like, because it is on the old Dis Plus.
Yeah, but then... if you're going to watch it on Disney Plus, then that you've just said we've been to see Lion King and we've been to see Book of Mormon, and they are you've seen them in the flesh in the theater, and you're like, well, do we want to see another musical? If you're talking about TV musicals, you've seen 100 of them because you've probably watched every single Disney movie having a kid, and just because everyone has. So you can't talk about I want to go and see a musical and then I will just watch one on TV.
So 2 points to that.
Okay.
First thing is, yes, but we don't have anything amazing in our area at the minute, which is unfortunate. So it'd be like like Amgram ones and stuff. But it's trying to get a breakaway to the likes of London or somewhere without Oliver, where we can go and watch said thing.
Yeah.
Which would be quite a monumental task at the minute. And then the second one is, speaking of Disney films, I haven't watched it for millennia, but I can't get out of my head the song from Moana.
Which one? The
Here It Goes. No. And the thing is, I don't know the lyrics to it, and it's really winding us up. When I was something like, calling, and I don't know just how it goes.
Yeah, okay.
That bit, I don't know anything else tempo wise or anything, so all I'm doing constantly is just walking around the house going and she's like, is that still in your head? I'm like, yep, it will never leave. And it never will. So it's just
how things like that pop into our heads.
It's just
speaking of Book of Mormon, in fact two things. Speaking of Book of Mormon, one, I've got tickets to go and see Book of Mormon in Liverpool, which was supposed to be last, I think I want to say June, last year, 2020. And then obviously it got postponed. And I'm going with someone I used to work with, and I texted him the other day going, when exactly is it on? Have they rescheduled it? And he said, oh yeah, it's July the 18th, whatever. And I had to look, and I was like, that's a Wednesday. We definitely wouldn't have booked a week. Like, we booked a weekend, right? Because Shell works. And he's like, yeah, it was a weekend. Like, so they can't move our date to a weekday? And he's like, it's not a weekday. I'm like, but it is. I'm looking at it. July the 18th, 2021. He's like, look again. Oh, right. They've postponed it for 2022. They postponed it 2 years.
What?
2 flipping years.
Wow.
I don't even know whether I'm going to be alive in 2 years. Like, you can't. I remember my brother booking tickets to go and watch Little Britain live, and it was about 16 months in advance of the actual show that he booked the tickets. Now, one, there's nothing to say that those two, in that 16 months of time, like Matt Lucas and David Williams, wouldn't have a massive falling out and suddenly the tour gets cancelled, or you end up disliking them, or you end up hating Little Britain in 16 months time. Are you still going to be that big a fan that you really want to go and see him live again?
That's the thing that always gets me with shows. I mean, we were quite lucky when we booked the Mighty Boosh, just because that show is always going to be amazing no matter what. But it's just, if you're into something like that moment in time.
Yeah, and you almost forget as well. I hate having things in advance.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, by the time I get to it, I'm like, oh yeah, great, that's coming up now. But I almost, you definitely lose that thrill of it for that little bit, especially if it is months and months and months in advance.
Like the Bare Naked Ladies gig, which is 2 years
exactly.
ago.
At least you'll never, you'll always want to go and watch the Bare Naked Ladies.
That's very true.
Because they have, even when they put out a mediocre subpar album years ago, that was not the latest one, years ago, you still wanted to go and see them live. It didn't put you off,
It did not.
Exactly. So we've had tickets to go to see, in fact, twice now, to go and see Eliza and the Bear, who are a sort of a indie pop group. And they, first of all, they were going to play in Chester, which not many bands play Chester, so it was quite it's a nice, easy place to get to go and watch a gig. And that got cancelled. Then they announced the gig in Liverpool. We were going to buy tickets for that. That got cancelled. Then we bought tickets. Shell bought me tickets for Valentine's Day, actually, to go and watch them in Manchester at the Deaf Institute. Then COVID. So that got postponed. That one was understandable. And that's supposed to be last week on Wednesday. Tuesday, I said to Shell, like, is it definitely happening? And she goes, oh, yeah, I've not had any email or anything saying it's been postponed or cancelled. Like, all right, cool. So I thought, let me just have a quick Google. Let me just check it. And 3 days ago, they put out a tweet going, right, sorry, guys, we're going to push our tour back because we're going to have a new album coming out soon. So we figure we'll push it till everything's a bit safer, and then we'll be able to do the new album and stuff. So, yeah, sorry. But none of the ticket places, this was like about 18 hours before the gig was actually going to happen. And no one had contacted us to say, yeah, by the way, I'm not even sure she's had an email now to say, hey, that gig that was on the other night didn't happen.
Wow.
We'll see. Anyway, what was my point? Oh, yeah. So things getting delayed. Do you remember when you bought a ticket? Was it Russell Howard?
Yeah.
And you decided, a safe place for this, I'm going to put them in our Russell Howard DVD box, because we'll remember that it's there. And then, what was it, like a month later, after the actual show, you were like, I wonder when that is.
Yeah. The amount of times I've done that with tickets, though, is unbelievable.
I've fortunately never done that. I always remember that the gig is on. The only thing that I did really annoyed me, and it annoyingly probably annoyed everyone else, was I bought tickets to go and watch, for us all to go and watch Embrace, supported by it was either Hope and Social or 4 Day Hombre, who were the same band, but
Four Day Hombre.
One of the two was supporting Embrace, and I was getting the tickets delivered to my dad's because my dad was generally in, so it'd be easier. And they arrived on a Friday. But he was out and he left the card, and the gig was on Sunday, so the tickets went to the post office, and then I rang up, I think it was on the Saturday. I said, is there a card or anything to say have the tickets been delivered? And he goes, oh, there's a card here, it says they're at the post office. I'm like, right, okay, let me just have a quick, okay, the post office is closed till Monday.
Yeah.
So our tickets literally just went to the post office and were just expensive piece of cardboard by Monday. But anyway, so Book of Mormon, 2 years, great. I mean, I'm looking forward to that next year. At least it'll have been a good amount of time since I've seen it, because
at least you've seen it. So that's
absolutely, exactly.
And it is amazing.
But just on a slightly similar subject, I've been playing Stick of Truth, the South Park game. I'm literally on the final boss now, and I'm going to go straight into the Fractured Butthole, I think.
Nice.
Just such good, fun, simple games. I've not played a game that is just so straightforward and uncomplicated in so long. It's just for RPGs or anything, like stuff like The Witcher and Skyrim or whatever that it's sort of based on. It's just so straightforward. You find a shop, you can tell which weapons are going to be better than the last one, so you can buy new, better ones. You can collect things, you can sell things to get money, you can attack people, you can choose to not attack people, where you've got to go on the map. The map's not too huge. It's like, if it wasn't South Park, it would almost be like a kid's RPG. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just straightforward. But it's also so wrong. And I don't understand. Like, it's famous for being completely censored in Europe, right?
Yeah.
So as you go through the game, there's lots of bits of gameplay that have just been completely cut out, and a screen comes up, and it's like, "Hi, people in Europe. Yeah, sorry, unfortunately, the Peggy said that we couldn't put this bit in the game because this is a bit where you do an anal probe on Randy, and you have to control the pressure from the probe, and it sounds absolutely horrendous. They wouldn't let us put it in, so just this is what happens, and at the end of it this happens, so that's the next scene, and then it cuts to the next scene, and there's about 3 or 4 times throughout the game that this happens. Yet the finale of the game, the US government have put a nuclear device up Mr. Slave's butt. And your character throughout the game has gathered all these abilities, and one of them is to shrink. So you have to shrink and then climb inside Mr. Slave's butt, climb through his intestines until you get to the actual the head of the warhead, and then deactivate it. For some reason, they're absolutely fine showing that. I was like, this is like one of the big finales of the game, and it's going to be completely cut out, and then suddenly you're in there, and I'm like, why is this not cut out yet? All the other stuff is described. Why is that so much worse? I don't understand Peggy's or Euler or whoever it is. I don't understand their line.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's fun though. I really like it. If I understand it right, the next one isn't the same sort of. I mean, obviously it's based more. It's on superheroes and stuff, but it's based on cards, right? Is it like a card game type thing?
It's been a millennia since I played it.
As far as I understand, I could be wrong, but I think it is.
I'm sure it's still the same, mate, where you got your attacks and your magic and your special moves and that sort of stuff.
I read something about collecting cards, and the cards do things, so maybe it's just another, mechanic within it. But yeah, so just really fun. And the other game, like, my time's currently being split between 2 games that are both very old. Well, one's not very old, but fairly old. I got some Google Play Store credit a while back when I got my new tablet, and I've been looking for a game to spend it on. And then I saw an advert on something for Stardew Valley, and I was like, that looks fun. That's down to $2.99. That's a bargain. That's a good little game, and I've got like £4 of credit. So I bought it, and I've put about 60 hours into it so far.
Wow.
It's great. Obviously it's like Animal Crossing. Like Animal Crossing, but with an actual story to it. Way more in depth. Like, a lot more grown up. It's not just silly little cartoon characters running around shaking trees and getting bananas and selling them so you can buy furniture for your house and whatever. There's just so much more depth to it, and I'm amazed at the company that put it together. It was one guy. Did you know the story about it? So I mean, not necessarily a story, but the fact that this was one guy just decided that he wanted he really wanted a new Harvest Moon game that did all these things that Harvest Moon would never do. So he decided he'd make it, and it's sold millions and millions and millions of copies, and it's so good. Like it, and it's really grown up. Like there's one of the characters. Once you progress past a certain point in your friendship with them, you'll get a little cutscene with a character. And one character, her mum's a raging alcoholic, and she's always trashing they live in a trailer. She trashes the trailer. And there's another guy who is, from what I can tell, he's just come back from war and he's got a bit of PTSD. There is a guy who's a complete bum and an alcoholic, and he just hates life. And it really looks like at some point I'm going to have to talk him out of killing himself. I don't know whether it goes down that path, but it's quite dark with some of the backstories of the characters, but it's really, in that respect, it's really realistic. It isn't just like, oh, hey, Bubbles the hippo, how are you doing? Yeah, oh, you want me to find you a turnip? Yeah, here you go. Yeah. It's great. It's so good. Especially on like a tablet, it's just a really nice, easy play for a tablet. I noticed, and this will let you segue into something you want to talk about last week. I saw some press photos of the Steam Deck, and the two people on that were playing Stardew Valley. And I was like, I mean, that's
like, now I need to buy a Steam Deck.
Yeah, well, no, because that's like the only bonus of not playing Stardew Valley on a tablet or mobile technically is that it's not been updated to version 1.5 yet, which brings in loads of new content. It's only on 1.4, like 1.5 on PC, Mac, and PlayStation and everything. In fact, it was on the Vita as well, but you used to be able to buy it on the PS4 and you'd get cross-buy on Vita. But now they removed it from the market and they put it back in without the Vita cross-buy for version 1.5, which is a bit annoying because I was going to buy it for that before I got a tablet. But anywho, adds in multiplayer and some extra dungeons and a whole nother area and stuff. It just adds to the game, but that's not on mobile yet. So that's the only reason I would consider getting it on PC or Mac or whatever. But yeah, Steam Deck, it seems like complete overkill to sit and play something. I mean, in fact, really uncomfortable to play something like Stardew Valley on. But I don't know, because this machine, it looks amazing. It looks very big, and it looks quite heavy.
Yeah,
so I don't know how. Yeah,
I like that.
Fair enough.
A lot because I love playing the Switch. Like the Switch is great. The Switch is brilliant. It's very lightweight, so I've always got that horrible sensation of if Oliver comes up to me while I've got it in my hand, and be like, oh, and it's flimsy enough to go poof out of my hands, and I'm like, oh, well, at least if he's coming up to me while I'm holding this beast, I know for a fact it'll stay in my hands because it's sturdy enough until he goes, oh, touchscreen, ooh, what's this? And just starts trying to like nail everything. I'm like, no, stop that. But yes, the Steam Deck. So for those uninitiated people, I suppose the best way of doing it, it's basically a PC Switch is the best way to describe it. Annoyingly, because when you pre-order it, and then like day one they were like, this is and literally hyped it up so much, I was like, well, I'm fucking down on this. And I was like, I'm not going for a PS5 or an Xbox One Series X whatever in like any time soon. And so my one isn't going to be available until like Q2 2022 anyway. So I've got like plenty of time to just be like, yes, definitely make sure that everyone in Q1 everything's going fine. And if it's not, at least I can refund my purchase, my reservation. Be like,
true. Yeah, it's a good point.
Because there's been plenty of machines that have tried this before, and the only dubious thing for me is the fact that everything they've tried to do has never really took off very well, apart from just Steam.
Yeah,
Steam is the only thing really that has took off.
But, yeah, there's The two sides of this. So you've got things that Valve have tried to do before that haven't really taken off, like looking at the Steam machines. But the difference with Steam machines is they didn't make them, right? They people could make Steam machines.
Yeah.
So it didn't really have one unified, this is, like you have with a console where this is the one you buy and that's the one that gets, that everyone grabs. So it was difficult to get, I guess, to take off in that way. And then in terms of devices that have done the same sort of thing, there are quite a few. But again, it's like, there's not one unified thing that is like, this is the best one and this plays everything that you want to throw at it. It's all another company's made. They just shoved the PC into a little handheld thing, or a big handheld thing in some cases. But I think it's the fact that it's Valve and they have Steam, that they've said that there's nothing that they've tried that is on Steam that will not work.
That's it. I mean, they've stated, obviously people are still going to lose their shit because they're like, everything works at 30 FPS, and I'm even though I'm a HD snob, like I hate watching SD TV.
On a handheld, 30 frames a second.
Yeah, is incredible. Like you want to see the state that Divinity 2 looks in on the Switch and stuff. It doesn't look pretty at all. Right. Like it runs all right, but it does not look good. So that sort of thing doesn't faze me, but there's something about this again, because it's nice to just curl up on the couch next to Ash while I've got the Switch in my hand.
Yeah,
this is ideal. Yeah. I can literally like pop it around yours, and then if I want to show you something that is, like, oh my god, you've got to watch this, Dan, I can get the dock out and stick it up on the TV. I don't even need the dock. I can just use the thing.
Just but the USB-C or whatever.
Yeah, but that's the thing that irritated me, is I had all these plans like, oh, the dock and all this, and then once you've done the reservation, you look at the bottom and it's like, oh, by the way, the dock isn't included,
right?
And it's not going to be released at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, right, okay. So all the videos you show where it's going into the dock and then they're plugging it into like your laptop or your PC or the TV and stuff, like, perfect. That's not available from the get-go.
Yeah, but all that's going to be is just it's just going to have a little USB-C male connector that you just slot it in and it plugs in at the bottom, and that's it. It's just a bit of plastic that holds the cable. It doesn't add anything else, does it? Maybe, well, I don't know, charging maybe, is that it?
Exactly, yeah. So it's charging as well, which...
Yeah, but I guarantee when it launches, someone else will...
ain't going to be great.
No, but someone will absolutely have released a cable that splits off into two, so you can both plug it into the TV and plug it into a charger at the same time, and it'll be, 10 quid, whatever. So
I hope so, because but to be fair, like what you were saying, obviously about playing Stardew Valley on this, the sole reason why I really got into it, I was chatting to Mike over it, and we were saying like, oh yeah, it'd be amazing. Like I love playing Div 2 on this. It's like, and you're getting one with that. We could do the multiplayer on, and he's like, with mods, and I was like, well, that sold it.
Yeah.
And I've got no reason whatsoever to require that, because I played through the game, put 100 odd hours into Divinity 2 and fucking loved every single second of it without the mods. But now I'm like, oh my god, I could play a modded version of it. This is going to be incredible. So I'm going to do that instead. And that's the sole reason that drove me to doing that. But I've noticed recently I've become really like, I want to do that. I want to have that. Right, I'm doing this. Because I think I was chatting to you on Facebook. No, it wasn't you actually. Sorry, it would have been Ash. Because I then messaged you straight after it going, Dan, I've just seen this and I want to do this. I was literally chatting to Ash on Facebook, and it was on the laptop while I was working. And some streamer was doing Alien Isolation on the VR headset, but just streaming it through. And I was like, oh, I've always wanted to do it in VR. And I'm like, and I've got it. And I've got the Oculus.
Is that a mod? Was it ever released officially as a VR?
It's never released officially.
No, so this is just someone's modded it or whatever.
Yeah, so someone done the mod called the Mother VR, which is incredible. If you played it when it first came out, and it was literally controller or keyboard and mouse, then this one now, literally in June, it was, he's patched it so that it now works with the controls for like the Quest and for the Rift and stuff like that. So it's now like a fully immersive one where you don't have a keyboard and mouse stuff. You're literally going around doing it. And I was like, right, I'm doing that. That's my goal. Yeah. This is what I'm doing. And I'm not only just going to do that, I'm going to stream it as well. Like, I want people to see the fear that comes in, because the game's fucking like intense as all hell anyway. So I'm like, I might as well make the most out of it and let people see it off my face while we do it. So then I messaged you straight away going, Dan, here's the plan. This is what we're doing. We are going to start doing this streaming stuff. We're going to start off with Alien Isolation in VR because it makes perfect sense. And this is how we're going to do it. And then I was like, right, now I need to figure out a way to actually get it working. So like I literally dusted off the laptop, which hasn't been played with at all this year. And then I was like, right, install Alien Isolation. Got 3/4 way through the installation, and it was like, hey, you've run out of memory. I was like, I've got one game on this laptop, and that's fucking Cyberpunk. It's the only game I've got on that laptop.
Okay, I can imagine that's pretty big, right?
Yeah, so I was like, right, well, that'll get deleted. And I was like, do you want to keep your save data? I'm like, no. Can't see myself ever going back to that. It was really enjoyable, really liked that game, but I don't ever think about it and think, oh, I need to play that. Mm-hmm. Like, it as fun as it was, it never grabbed me the way that like a decent game should. Like with Divinity 2, all I wanted to do was just like chat to people about like Mike who plays it. I'm like, oh right, okay, dinner's finished, but I just did this, chatting about it, thinking about the builds, thinking about how we can do certain things and like all this sort of stuff as I'm literally working. I never had that with that, and with like Shenmue and stuff, I'm always thinking like, oh right, okay, I didn't think about going that place, should try this, should do that. Like all my favorite games I'm constantly thinking about, and it leaves an impression. The only impression I ever got with Cyberpunk was they need to fucking fix this and quick. And like it's just constantly patching like non-stop on the PC, and each one either makes something really good, 98% of the time it just messes up everything that was actually all right with it.
Yeah.
So I was just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm done with that. So I removed it, installed Alien Isolation, which the sheer scale of it took like 22 gig compared to like the fucking 100 or 300 gig that fucking Cyberpunk 2077 was taking up. So I was like, right, okay, that's cool. And then I was like, right, do the Mother VR mod, and I've never modded anything in my life, so I'm like, oh, this will be fun. I don't know how I'm going to do this now. It was a great idea, and now I'm panicking massively. So I'm like, how do I do this? Oh, it's just literally drag and drop that one single file.
Yeah, it's never going to be
into that folder. Like I don't have to rewrite anything like you do with Skyrim stuff or anything like that. It's just literally a case of click, drop, done. So it's like awesome. So then did that. Literally booted up the Quest, plugged into the PC, and it was like, hey, we recognize you got your Quest. And I was like, amazing, that's working. Set up the Epic Game Store, ran Alien Isolation, and it was like, hey, do you want to use the Mother VR mod? And I was like, yes, please. And then it came up going, runtime error on the Oculus. And I was like, right, okay, I should have tried to fix all of this before I messaged Dan saying, this is what we're going to do from now on. And I was like, right, okay. So I was like, went online, tried to have a little scope around it. And people were like, yeah, no, you need to use the official Oculus Link cable. I was like, well, no, it says use the one that's in the box, so I won't be doing that. And like, just try this, try that. Tried everything I could for like a good 45 minutes, could not get it working. And I'm like, uninstall everything, reinstall everything, try everything. I'm like, all it is just a USB-C cable that goes into the headset and into the laptop. There's nothing else that can go physically wrong with it unless if they just updated it for the Quest 2 now. I was like, that's going to annoy me if it is. So I was like trying to figure it all out, and then just had one last ditch effort. And I was like, I wonder if I just use the charging cable from upstairs from my phone instead of using the cable that comes with the headset. Try that. Did that, booted up, no issue whatsoever before. And I'm like, okay, that works then. I was like, right, okay, what I'm going to do is just get to the bit where the alien first pops up, because I remember the first like 2 hours of the game being quite monotonous, just going, right, okay, there's some like droids, like androids there. I just need to hide from them and get going. And it only kicks off when the alien pops up. So I was like, I'll start doing that. I start going through it, mate, in VR, and I have no recollection whatsoever about any of this first like hour and a half or whatever.
Okay.
And going through, I'm like, who the fuck's this guy that's telling me to follow him? I don't remember any of this. And going through, like, had to hide, had like shootouts with people that have been hiding from. I'm like, I don't remember any of this. Why did I not think, tell you what, I'm going to start from this? Because it's really intense. The only annoying thing is I've been so spoiled with the VR games that I've played, the likes of that, where you can reach out and touch stuff and be like, oh yeah, I want to do that, pick stuff up and just, as you're walking around.
Yeah,
it's done VR. With this, obviously, it's not a VR game. It's just a mod. So I find myself going, ooh, and sticking my hand out to be like, oh, what's that? Oh, what's this? And then I'm going like, oh no, wait, hang on a minute. There's no hand there. It's just you've literally got to try and do it with your with the controllers. So like that's weird and awkward at some points. And then it's like to peek around corners, hold down like LB and RB, and then use the left thumbstick. And I was like, I don't know why I
find yourself
peek.
leaning.
And I was like, that's really annoying why you can't just lean. So I was trying to press LB and RB and like use the left thumbstick to look around, and it wasn't doing a single thing. And I'm like, okay, so it's not all working. And then I was like, I heard something behind me, and I was like, oh, what's that? And then as soon as I turned, I was like leaning and looking, and I was like, why didn't I just think about that first? It's like that would have been the most obvious thing to think about. So they've obviously just left in some of the instructions that was for obviously PC to begin with, where it's like, hey, using a controller, press LB and RB, and then use that thumbstick to look around. Okay. But he's mapped enough everything so well to it. It's so intuitive. It's incredible. And just the feeling of being on the spaceship in the VR is fucking terrifying. It genuinely is so well made. Like if they did the official VR one, it like where you can use your hands to look around, that would have been immense. But I don't think you need it. The only thing that sort of takes you out of it a little bit is all the cutscenes are just flat. Like you can tell it's cinematic because like obviously the black lines come up and it's just a 2D one and it comes straight back into screen. Yeah, but then it takes you back into it again. But yeah, damn, Dan, it is very, very impressive. And now because obviously I've hooked it up to the PC and got the Oculus Store on it, and I've never really thought about using it with the link cable and stuff. I've now got loads of like 3 titles you can play on the Rift and stuff. And then I was like, oh, I wonder. And apparently my laptop can handle Half-Life Alyx like on highest settings. So I was like, okay. That's going to be one to do then. So let's do that. I was like, oh, and I've got the Blair Witch game to play with as well, because that was free on the Epic Store. So we've now got Blair Witch in VR as well to try and play through. So I'm like, we've got that because I've got the mod for that. So there's just loads and loads for us to just randomly on a couple of days be like, let's smash some of this stuff out. And I'm very excited to do it. I'm very nervous because we are going to need sets of pants.
That's good. I have multiple.
Lots of pants. But yeah, I'm genuinely stoked and excited to start doing this. But that obviously takes away from what I originally was going to chat about, which was the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
That went on a massive tangent. Sorry. Yeah. But yeah, the Steam Deck. I love the fact that my Steam library isn't that big.
Right.
It's got a few titles on there, but not as much as the likes of Epic Game Store or GOG. Anything like that, because they
Epic Game Store where you spent $0.
I bought a few games on Epic Game Store.
But it's, from what I understand, I suppose the issue is it runs Linux, right?
Yeah.
So I think the main reason that makes the Steam Deck work so well is because I can't remember what they called it, but they've been working on for years some utility that can be put into any game that will make the PC version run on Linux, right? I forget exactly what it's called. It's got some code name to it. So yeah, that means that pretty much anything that ends up on Steam is going to be able to run on this, and that's from the day one, that was their intention, I think, to have this, to make this utility, so they could release their own consoles and whatnot. So I guess that would be the problem with anything on GOG or on from any other source, really.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, they've already shown you actually people opening up other Windows-based apps and other game stores, so you could quite happily, like, I don't suppose they want to show it off completely because, like, hey, look, we are Steam, literally fucking use Steam because that's what we made it for.
Yeah.
But people who are going hands-on, like, yeah, so I've opened up a game store and I've had a look at this, and you can play around with that, and you can do this, that, and the other. And you got people playing the old point-and-click games on it, and they're saying it's quite fiddly to get your grips with. But as soon as you do, it's like playing RTS games and stuff like that look really fluid, and they're playing like old school ones on there, like the original
like all
King's
the ones
Quest
I've been playing on.
Yeah,
my
like
tablet.
all the ones you've been playing on your tablet and stuff. Yeah. So it will literally, it'll handle anything at the moment you can throw at it. And I love the fact that you can literally just go into it because it is just a handheld PC. You can go into it, and if you want to, you can put Word on it and just play Word. Well, not play Word, but do work on it and stuff like that. But you can literally upload anything you wanted to on it, and it will work it. So they've even commented, yes, if you really found it that essential that there's not enough in your Steam library, you can use other game stores. And I'm like, sweet, because the main one I will be using will be Epic, because that's where most of my games are.
Everyone will be. I mean, that as soon as that can be run on it, that's amazing. That is some really up-to-date current games for zero, for absolutely nothing. I mean, the beauty of Steam is that they do have some amazing sales, but apart from my Epic Games library, if I look at my Steam library and my GOG one, it's all older stuff. And part of that is, like, I never buy like a gaming PC. I've got a decent laptop. I've got my MacBook, which is pretty high spec, but I don't want to have to faff around with trying to get stuff to work. I remember that from when I was growing up. Like, we always had a really good current computer, but you still always had to faff around with trying to get things to work properly. Like, the sound wasn't right, or the graphics weren't as good as they could be, all sorts of stuff. So that's not for me. So I never buy any really top of the range current games. It's always older stuff that I'm like, oh, that'll definitely run. I don't even think twice about whether a game's going to run on my system because it's not really new. So that would probably be the only thing with me. I wouldn't have anything new to play on it. It would be all the older stuff. So
but no,
the 64 gig version would be fine for me.
Yeah, see, that's the only thing that got me. It was like I went for the one with the big boy, the 512.
So there's a 64 gig, a 256, and a 512, but the 64 gig is eMMC, isn't it? So it's the slower type of SSD. It's almost
it is indeed
memory card basically. But from everything I've heard, it runs stuff pretty nicely.
It will do. It's just you're not like you couldn't even. It's going to be like Warzone all over again with the PS4s. Any sort of new title, which I know doesn't phase you, but 80% of most new titles, like, you'll be able to put on like half a game or
absolutely
like one game, and that's it. You would need the 512.
But again, you look at the stuff that I've got. A 64 gig one would be okay for everything that I have that I would want to play currently, but that's pretty short-sighted because at some point, people are going to want to play all the, loads of other stuff, and they're just not going to be able to. So I totally get that. I get why it's, a big difference. But even from a memory card, stuff supposedly still runs. I'm curious as when it comes out or when people get a good, decent hands-on it, whether you will be able to play stuff like Cyberpunk on from an SD card. Highly unlikely, I think.
Yeah, no chance, mate.
Yeah,
no chance. I think they've said that it's again, it's like what like the PS5 where you can store stuff on it, but running it, you're best off really using the actual main memory, like inside it to run it. And yeah, I completely get it. I mean, the 64 gig one will be perfect for the likes of people who just want to play indie games on there or old school games. That's literally the 64 gig one. And then the 256 and the 512, the ones that are literally going to use it as their main suppose, or like their backup when they're mooching around. Because the Steam Cloud, you can literally just go like, right, okay, I'm going to carry on playing, whatever that's just Cyberpunk, literally just on the fly now. You can flick it over, which would be great. To be fair, like I love the fact that you can do all that sort of stuff. It's an amazing little bit of kit, and I'll be very surprised now with the likes of like PlayStation and Microsoft stuff are looking and going, right, okay, Nintendo have got theirs. The PC the gamers now have their one where they can do this. Are we going to need to start doing this? Now, I suppose with Microsoft, not so much because of their Game Pass, you'll probably be able to put on this anyway and then play.
Yeah, can you imagine? Absolutely. That'd be a win for them.
But now PlayStation just like, well, we had remote play. And everyone's like, yeah, it didn't work very fucking well, did it?
No.
Like, well, no, it didn't. But, we've tried handhelds and it didn't really do that well. But it seems though everyone wants the hybrid now. So I can imagine they're now like furiously beavering away now to think, right, shit, how are we going to sort of cope with this and have
possibly
competition coming through? Because it is, and I can see this being a bit of the mini future of the way it's going to start going. Like, it's amazing. Like, I will miss, like, I do, like, you want to play in the Switch in handheld mode, I do miss the ability of just looking up at the screen and going like, ooh, and just playing something on a big screen. And I know I can do it with the Switch, but I miss gaming TV.
Do you think it's going to cannibalize sales of Sony stuff? Like it is a handheld. It's not like I can't see that many people buying it so they can play games on the telly. So it's the sort of thing that I think people would buy one of, and they still have a PlayStation or an Xbox.
Yeah, for this, but I think if PlayStation did the hybrid, then I think that's the next evolution.
Yeah, I think that'd be a long way off, I'd have thought.
But the downside to that is, I mean, these have done it amazingly well. How you can see the quality of the game and stuff, but I can't picture like playing all the brand spanking new shit in the palm of my hand and it playing and feeling amazingly well. Like, I love the ability, like, I know I keep harking on about Div 2 and stuff, but it's just because obviously it's my most recent games I played, but it's easy to play portable. Mm-hmm. The likes of, like they were showing off Control and stuff, like that is going to look amazing on the screen, on the big screen. In a little screen where you're trying to play it in handheld mode where it's like intricate details to look at and that sort of stuff. I can't picture that doing great.
No, but I think you'll sort of like I was saying about me. I don't tend to buy those expensive games. I do tend to have the older ones, but then to me that feels like it's a bit of a waste spending that much on something so advanced. So I think you're probably the opposite in that. Yeah, you're not thinking of it now, but once you've got it, it almost would feel a waste to not use that. You get what I mean? So I don't know. It's hard to judge which way it's going to go with people, but I don't think it's going to make someone like Sony or whoever. I don't think it's going to make any of the big players. Maybe Microsoft to a max go, do you know what, this is what we're missing, we need to make one of these. I think Microsoft will probably, like you say, find a way to get Game Pass on it without any problems or faffing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be really simple anyway to put the PC one on there. It's literally just a case of plug it into your laptop and move the Game Pass. It will over.
Providing that, like they say, you can get them to run on, well, technically on Linux.
It is possible, to be fair. I'm sure I was reading, like, when they were doing hands-on and they were talking about it, that's what brought my head. I was like, what PlayStation?
But this is the beauty of a console. You buy a game, you put it in, and it works. You don't have to do anything to get it to work. So it's in Microsoft's interest, I think, to get it to work flawlessly. I mean, at the very least, it would be the Game Pass, the streaming stuff, right?
Yeah.
That definitely, that's got to work without any problems.
Yeah, 100%, mate, 100%. And that's the beauty of that service. It's great. I mean, if remote play worked amazingly well, like you can remote play on a laptop now. So you would be able to literally remote play on the Steam Deck.
Exactly.
It just doesn't work great. Like, even when I was sitting on the couch with the PlayStation there, and Ash was watching something.
The PlayStation one. But,
but the Game Pass stuff works incredible.
Yeah.
But it's
even PS Now doesn't work that well, right?
No.
So, yeah, it just seems like Microsoft have got it and no one else seems to have mastered it.
Yeah, figured it out, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe Stadia, I don't know. Still haven't tried it. No reason to, I suppose. But
no, that's the thing though, 'cause it makes me laugh. I was looking at my wish list when you were talking about like the style of games that I want to get into and stuff. And future, I'm looking like all my ones at the minute are all like old school new RPGs, so like Baldur's Gate 3,
right,
and like Celeste and that sort of stuff. So I'm like, all these would play really nice on the deck. Like they would play really nice, but I'd never have anything that's so intensely graphic intensive that I think will struggle with it. It's like, the latest game I bought on my PS4 before I got rid of it was Shenmue 3. Like, that really wasn't that graphically intense. Like, there's graphics to me on everything. Like, I would love it. Like, don't get me wrong, when the new Dead Space remake comes out, a nice little segue into it, which, by the way, I fucking loved the original Dead Space.
I remember you did, yeah.
So it was one of the few games that the lore and stuff got me massively into it before the game came out. So what Microsoft did which I miss, because Microsoft were the kings of doing this sort of stuff, with likes of Alan Wake and with like Dead Space, you could download the digital comics on the Xbox Live.
Yeah.
And there'd be like animated comics that would go through, and it would tell you the story prior to Dead Space that would go off. And before Alan Wake, there was like little mini videos and documentaries and stuff you could do, all of which were amazing. And I miss that sort of stuff so much. But the Dead Space one was done by a guy called Ben Templesmith, who drew loads of stuff, including like the Silent Hill comics, which is what made me go, ooh, amazing. Like, those comics, Silent Hill comics and series of graphic novels, were amazing. So the fact he was involved, I was like, yeah, okay, I need to get into this. So I watched a couple of them, and I was like, yeah, these are really good. And I got really sucked into it. And then the game came out, and it was not what I wanted, but it was still really good.
Yeah.
Because like I expected it to be like another proper survival horror, where it was like very limited everything, loads of puzzles, proper like Project Zero, Silent Hill, Resident Evil type of game. But you got Resident Evil 4 in space, like a really brutal Resident Evil 4 in space. But still, nonetheless, it was more actiony than it was like horror-y. The atmosphere was great, but yeah, it was just like, oh, look, there's bad guys everywhere, shoot everything, cut off their limbs, do this. And I'm like, right, okay, cool, we can do that. But it was a great game. And number 2 did everything Dead Space 1 did and improved upon it. And then Dead Space 3, they just went, right, how can we flog this? Like, just like we just need to make money. How do we do it? Okay, I'll tell you what, let's do it co-op. Let's get rid of any element that there might be any fear whatsoever involved. And we'll just make a pure full-on action thing. And if that's not good enough for you guys, we've got an on-rail shooter for the Wii, if you fancy that as well. And I was like, oh, what's happened to you? You could have been so good.
And there's a pretty poor
Downfall.
Portable.
Oh, right, yeah. Sorry, there was also two mangas as well. They did Aftermath and Downfall, both of which were awful, and I bought them day one.
All right.
Yeah, so I was massively into the universe, despite the fact that, like, 3 and onwards were just absolutely awful. But this remake, they're using the Frostbite engine, and it's next gen only, current gen only. They're not using like PS4. It's not going to be on previous gen. It's literally just sole next gen, and it looks like they're only showing you a little teaser trailer, but it looks just like, yes, that atmosphere is back, and like I love just how so much of a slow burn it was to begin with, and I'm like, yes, okay, I'm into this, and then obviously it went massively action affiliated, but now I know what I'm getting myself into. I know I'm going to enjoy it more. And I think that's why I really enjoyed Dead Space 2, because it was like, right, okay, I know it's going to be more of the same, and I'm happy with that, but now I know what I'm getting myself into. I can enjoy it more. And it was brutal, like the nursery scenes with the aliens that were like little babies that cropped up the fucking necro legs and shit. And yeah, it got really twisted and really quickly, and it was brilliant. And they did the amazing, I don't know if you remember the advert where they played Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
You're upset. If any game publishers out there want to sell at least one copy, they just need to put a nursery rhyme in a trailer, and Reg will be all on it.
Yeah, but don't be like Twinkle Twinkle, like really fuck it up.
Well, that one's been used. Yeah, like, exactly. It's got to be a really weird version.
Like mess it up, because it was saying they did. Who was it? Did Ring a Ring of Roses? One of them did Ring a Ring of Roses, and it really messed me up. And I was like, this is awesome. Like I love that. And even like Dishonored did it with What to Do with Drunken Whaler, and that was amazing. Like I loved that, and that made me buy Dishonored straight away. Turns out I wasn't a massive fan of Dishonored, but that song was great. So yeah, you've got a very valid point. If you want to sell one copy, just do that. Or if anybody fancies making a really messed up, just like album of nursery rhymes and kid songs done in a horror style, I'll buy it. I'm all over that. Like I'm buying albums in the style of nursery rhymes to play for all of it on Google Home.
Oh, so why not? Let's get some really messed up horror themed nursery rhymes for him.
Yeah, he'll love it. He'll grow up and like just not scared of anything.
Yeah, and he'll be the same. He sees a video game trailer, and it has When You Wish Upon a Star or something playing on it, really creepily.
Yeah, and then
Dad, buy me that.
And then Capcom be like, yes, 2 sales.
Yeah. And then you're like, haha, no wish, we'll share a copy.
Yeah.
Jokes on them.
And like, just have my login details. You know them.
Yeah.
It's like, you're still using the same one you did from the PS3.
Still using the same password that you do for everything that, yeah.
Yes, I am. It should be awesome. But while we're talking about creepy horrors and stuff like that as well, obviously it's been digital Comic-Con or Comic-Con at home, where they started showing off a load of stuff, and they shown the TV series of Chucky just going through. So this is Child's Play. So they did.
Great.
So they did
once.
For me, yes.
Okay.
And I suppose for a lot of people, I love the Child's Play films. I thought the Child's Play films were great, even to a lesser extent, Cult of Chucky. But you know, I loved the Child's Play films, and I think it's because I seen them when I was so young. I remember it messing my brother and cousin up massively, and I think that's what made me go, I love these.
Yeah, of course.
And it only started because we went to. This is showing how old we are now, Dan. Unfortunately, we went to Global Video. Not even Blockbuster, but Global Video, which was a rental place in Ellesmere Port that you could get VHS videotapes, because DVDs weren't around at that point, not even thought of. And we went there with my auntie, and she was like, you can pick any films, and there was like a deal where you could like rent 3 for a tenner or something like that for the weekend. So we're like, oh yeah, and we rented. What were the other 2 we rented? So we rented 2 others, which we could all watch, and there was no issue with it. But we were struggling with the 3rd one, and I was like, that looks cool because it just had Chucky on it.
Right.
Child's Play 2, I think it was. No, 3.
So this wasn't even that you were like, yeah, this is really good. Oh, did your mum say that's okay? Yeah, she lets us watch these films all the time. That's got a doll on the front. That looks good.
Because basically it was Chucky. It was Child's Play 3. So it was Chucky with a Jack in the Box at the front, and he's got some giant like garden shears.
Okay.
He's doing it, so it looked quite menacing. But I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And my auntie just looked and went, "Right, doll." Didn't even look at all properly at it, and we're like, "Right, okay, cool, yeah, Child's Play, yeah, amazing. Let's put that in with the thing, and we can all watch it." Yeah. And they left us in the living room, me, mum, and my auntie, and they went into like the garden or the kitchen or somewhere to just basically get away from us. And went, right, they've got their entertainment for the day, to crack open the wine, and they can just sit in the living room and just watch 9 hours of videos, and that's fine. So we watched the first one, and they came in and went, "Do you want food and stuff?" And like, "Yeah, we want food," and they give us food and snacks and everything, and then sodded off. And it was right at the beginning of the Child's Play where the kid's swinging on the swing and kicks a mound of dirt, and it just sees the face of Chucky, and he's like, "What?" And it's like shows you the hand and stuff. And at this point, Chucky's not alive; he's just a doll on the ground. And my cousin went, "Nope, nope," and just ran into like the corner of the dining room, because it was like an open plan living room, dining room ensemble they had at my mum's house, and just ran and just sat on a chair facing the wall, and was like, "I'm not watching this."
Like Blair Witch style.
Yeah, he was just like, "I am not watching this. No chance. Like, just, I don't even know what's going to happen, but this is just not for me." But didn't want to go in the living room because he knew me and Chris wanted to watch it.
Right.
So he was like, "I ain't a snitch. I'm just going to sit in the corner and rock."
Yep, snitches get stitches.
Yeah, just so I don't actually have to do it. So I was like, yeah, cool. So did that. It literally then all started kicking off, and our Chris was like, "Yeah, no, this is definitely not for me. Like, and I'm sorry, Gray, but I want something else on." I was like, "But this is getting really good now." So our Chris went in the kitchen, got stitches because he snitches.
Oh.
So my mum came in and was like, "What is this you're watching?" As Chucky's just like got some cling film, so to speak, and just like over some woman's face, and it's just like suffocating. And I'm like, "Look what Chucky's doing." To which it then got turned off, and mum was like, "Me and your dad will watch this first, and then you can watch it, and we'll tell you to cover your eyes and stuff at the bits, but so you can go into school and be like, 'Oh, I watched Child's Play over the weekend and it's amazing,' to make ourselves look good in front of everyone else."
Oh.
Because we used to do that loads. Like Universal Soldier was one of my favourite ones, because every 2 minutes my mum was like, "Just cover your eyes." I'm like, "Huh?" So that you obviously cover your eyes but keep the little slits open so you could see what was going on.
Okay.
So then we ended up not being able to watch it. And then it was my mission from every Christmas and every birthday: "What do you want?" "A Chucky doll. I want a good guy doll. I want a good guy doll." That's all I ever wanted. Never got one, but I wanted one so bad. Just to start leaving it, either like in our Chris's room, or when I went to my cousin's, just when he went to the bathroom or something, just stick it in his bed, just to really fuck them up. But I was a huge fan of Chucky from that moment on. I was like, you know what, that scenario has made me a really big fan. Like the films, if I didn't have that, would probably be awful. But for me,
I can vouch for that. They are. But
but you're not into horror, though, are you? That's the
No. A horror film's got to be particularly good for me to enjoy it. So,
right.
But that says it all.
Fair enough.
If I don't enjoy it, it's not good enough, Reg.
Right, fair enough. Well, for me, it is. And the reboot, was not great. It was all right, but
then
was.
Why are you at all positive about a TV series?
Because this is continuing on from the actual run of films, not the reboot.
Great.
So it's got
what channel is this?
So this service? Is Sci-Fi.
Brilliant. You were burying that lead, weren't you?
Yeah, I wasn't going to tell you that bit, to be honest with you, mate. But they showed the trailer, and the trailer's awesome. So it's just, I think it's following on straight away it's a side story from Cult of Chucky.
That means nothing to 99% of the people.
But Chucky now just doesn't care who hears him, basically, and sees him do stuff. All he wants to do is just go around and murder things. Now, instead of trying to get out of the body, he's just like, "Hey kid, I'm going to go murder your sister. Do you want to come with me?" And she's like, "I think I'm scared now." And he's like, "Good." And I'm like, Jesus. But it's got the comedy in it, and it's also got that like messed up fear, which I'm like, yeah, this is going to be a really fun series. So again, it might only have one sale, but that's me. I'm well into it. But according to the forums and stuff, people who are into the original films are actually like looking forward to it as well. So technically, it's not just me. So I've got some hopes for this. I think it could be quite fun.
It completely blows my mind that there are some franchises that they keep going back to, and they never seem to be like massive and popular, but there's constantly like, we're going to do a new version. Just give up on it. The only thing I remember about Chucky was that it got banned. That, for me, I don't think I'd have heard about it for years and years after if it wasn't for that. Just had that controversy about it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, like that sort of film, because I love the likes of Puppet Masters and like all that sort of stuff. Even though like Porcelain Dolls, just no, I can't deal with them at all. But the Puppet Masters and that sort of stuff, like I love those sort of horror films. Like they're cheesy, but they're brilliant. They are really good. Like some of the old ones, everyone loves, like the Candyman. Have you seen the trailer for the new Candyman reboot that they've done?
Yeah, it looks interesting. That's thingy, the other Jordan
Peele. Yeah.
The other half of Keen.
So yeah, like that sort of stuff. I remember doing Candyman in front of the mirror when I stayed at a mate's house, and his brother chased us all the way through Whitby Park with like a giant hook.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, that scared me shitless. Like the film didn't. They wasn't bothered about the film, but him and his mates who heard me and Matty go, Candyman, and then they were like, nah, we're not going to do it the third time. And then like an hour later we went, and he must have been like, right guys, because we all live like literally around that roundabout by my house, my old mum's house, which you know, Dan, but obviously people at home won't, but we all live very locally, like about 6 houses around each other. It wasn't far. So he just literally must have gone, right guys, we're scaring them shitless tonight. Okay. Like, cool. And yeah, they did a really good job. Like I nearly broke my neck falling down the stairs to get out of the house in time. It was just terrifying, but like the films themselves aren't great, and I can't believe they keep doing it. But then you've got to keep thinking, well, they have done 14 different variations of Friday the 13th, and there's a new Halloween coming out again soon. Mm-hmm. Like, the horror films never die.
Horror films, I get the point. They're so cheap to make, and when they hit massive, don't they?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like I've heard good things about, like I've pretty much every podcast for the last maybe month and a half since lockdown has ended, I've come on the show and gone, I went to the cinema to watch this film. I've just been going to see films that I'm even just moderately interested in. Yet this week there isn't one, but everything I'm reading is telling me I need to go and see the new M. Night Shyamalan film. No, I know I'm not gonna because I'm hearing it's really good. Like everyone's saying, he's back to his old self. But it just I've seen the trailer. I saw the trailer months ago. If not, I don't know. Was it one of these that got delayed? So maybe a year ago. It just looks so bad. And for people who aren't aware, it's called Old, and it is about a beach that these families go. They take their kids, and something about the beach means that everyone ages really quickly. So suddenly their kids are growing up, and suddenly the parents are really old. And I don't know, just seems like a really stupid premise. And I'm sure there's going to be an amazing, hilarious twist at the end. I just don't want to know what it is, to be honest.
No, I've got no interest in that whatsoever.
No, but yeah, other than that, there's nothing out at the minute. Did the new G.I. Joe that's come out in the States? Yeah, like I didn't even know this film was happening until about a month ago. Right. I actually liked the original too. I'm not going to say I loved them, but I really like the Mummy films, and anything that what's his name? I can't remember what it is. Stephen Sommers, is it? I forget the guy who directed and wrote and whatnot the Mummy films, and he did Van Helsing and he did G.I. Joe. I think he did at least the first one. I think he did the second one as well. Generally, I like his films. They're just decent, fun action films. They're like Jerry Bruckheimer films if Jerry Bruckheimer was better. I don't want to say brilliant, great, because they're still not great. But they're just fun films. So I enjoyed the G.I. Joe films. Something about them just, I don't know, I liked. But it's been so long, and now they're doing an origin film for Snake Eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a reboot? Is this carrying on?
You're carrying on, I believe, mate.
I don't understand. If it's got to have been at least 8 to 10 years since the second G.I. Joe film. If they couldn't get the funding to make a third one in that time, what makes them think that people are going to want to go and see an origin, like a prequel?
Because, unlike me and you, kind sir, we are not massively into G.I. Joe to the stage where, like, the action figures over the past, I want to say 18 to 24 months have made a huge resurgence for some reason, and I'm not quite sure why. Because obviously this has been wrote and made prior to the 18, 24 months, obviously, that's coming through. But I've been watching on the Gamer Network channel, Jinx or whatever it's called, on Sky. They've got it's an awesome show. It's called The Great Action Hero Trail or something like that. And it's some guy who's doing a charity auction for kids. And basically some charity's gone, here's a shit ton of cash. Go buy us like figures that you can make more on. It needs to be action figures and they need to be collectible. Go get it. And out of all the figures in the world, like the G.I. Joe is apparently the trifecta of action figures.
Okay.
Which need to be. So the trifecta is Star Wars, obviously, Transformers, and G.I. Joe. And then just under G.I. Joe, it's Turtles, which made me go, oh, they're going to search for Turtle stuff. I'm interested in this. I'll watch it. But yeah, some of the G.I. Joe original figures and like the offshoots from like the original animated films and stuff, they're going for like ridiculous money, and Snake Eyes is apparently the most popular G.I. Joe character. So like that, I think, just goes to sort of show that people are massively into him and going, right, we need to.
Yeah, I don't know whether that translates to a film though. That's the thing, but
are they still doing the shared universe?
What's that? Sorry.
Are they still doing the shared universe idea?
What, the Hasbro universe?
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if they did down the line.
Because I'm wondering if that's why they're like, right, okay, we need to remind people that we have these franchises so we can.
Yeah, and I've just got a thing up about it. It is a reboot.
Oh, it is a reboot.
Yeah, slight spoilers, but during the credits, it sets up, other characters, other G.I. Joe people.
I couldn't name another one. I know G.I. Joe.
Yeah, Joe.
I know Joe, and I know Snake Eyes, unless they're the same people.
No, they are different people. Yeah, and the thing is, from what I remember in the film, Snake Eyes was very much like what's he called in The Boys Black thingy. Oh, the guy, you never see his face and he just wears the black suit.
Yeah, black. Oh my God, what's his name? Oh,
but anyway, him. It was very much like that. He was just completely mute.
Black
Noir, that's it. Completely mute. Always wore that, that you couldn't see his face, anything like that. He just was very emotionless. Same sort of character, basically. But in the second one, they did do a flashback to show how he, became what he became. So it makes sense that this is a reboot. But yeah, I don't know. It's a really tough time for a new franchise to get going, because obviously not as many people are going to the cinema as there were 2 years ago or whatnot. So people have either got to go, this is the film I want to go and see, and or they just go, I'm just going to watch it on HBO Max or whatever.
Yeah.
So the only good thing is HBO Max, because these films are free, then they get these massive numbers, and then they're almost fooled into thinking, oh, this is a massive hit because look how many people have watched it. Like, look at, again, we didn't talk about it. We said at some point we'll talk about it, but that Amazon film, The Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt, I have not seen a single thing that said a good word about the film. It's just a really stupid story. Didn't make sense. Badly paced. not particularly great acting. It just felt really pointless, and even almost like a bad version of Edge of Tomorrow, which is an amazing film that I absolutely love.
Oh, sorry, just massive tangent. In fact, no, remind me to.
It's a tangent back in a sec.
Yeah, okay. It's just tomorrow. That just reminded me I need to chat to you.
Okay, on pod or off pod?
Yeah, this is a conversation we had off pod, which is coming on pod now.
Okay, right. Yeah, so that film, because it was free and on Amazon, and people were like, "Oh, a free film that's got Chris Pratt in it, I'll watch it."
Yeah.
It did huge numbers. It was the biggest single day streaming event on Amazon that they've ever had.
Yeah, so much so they're doing a sequel.
Exactly. And same for Netflix, Army of the Dead. I saw, okay, you've got your Zack Snyder zealots who are like, yeah, it's great, anything he does is amazing. But most of the reviews for that were like, this isn't very good. And most people I talked to said the same. But because it was free and it was this massive film that it just felt like, oh, here's a free, a big film that I don't have to go to the cinema to see. People watched it. So the numbers inflate how popular it is. But how many of those people saw this first one and go, yeah, that was rubbish. No way I'm watching a sequel, even if it's free.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're not sort of thinking about. And Godzilla versus Kong, again, it got slated by a lot of the critics. Yet because it was on HBO Max, it did massive numbers, and I guarantee now there's going to be more. Even though, I don't think they've ever had a massive, humongous hit. It's just been enough that they can just justify the next sequel just so they could get to Godzilla vs. Kong. And even Mortal Kombat, it didn't do particularly great at the cinema, but the numbers on streaming were amazing. So, there's going to be a second one.
And that's the only redeeming thing about that. I know, because it's literally setting up ready for the sequel. So that's the only one I'm glad is actually going to get something out of it.
So I just think it's really tough for a film like that to be like, I can't see people wanting to go to the cinema to be like, this is my one movie I'm going to go and see at the moment because I'm staying away from public spaces or whatever. And I don't know whether it is or it's on HBO Max, and then great, there you go. I'm not sure. It just doesn't quite seem to make a lot of sense. I would have held back on something like that. I'm not even sure when it's out here. I've been keeping an eye out, but I know it's out in the States now, but not here. But anyway, I can't remember what the point was there. Just that there was another G.I. Joe film, and I don't understand why.
Because we were talking about Chucky, and you're like, I just don't get irrelevant franchises like Legends of Tomorrow.
Okay, all right, interesting. Yeah. Do you know what? I even got my list up on my phone. There is something I wanted to talk about relevant to that I didn't mention to you because I didn't want to spoil it.
Is it the season 6 teaser trailer?
No, I've not watched it, and I'm not gonna. So
don't watch it, Dan. I mean, when I say that, I mean just don't watch season 6.
Okay, no. So this will wrap it up because we're at an hour and a quarter. But me and Reg, we used to really enjoy the Arrowverse. So Arrow, Flash. I don't know whether you watched much of Supergirl. I quite liked it. What else was there? Legends of Tomorrow. And the thing is, at least Flash and Arrow, we both used to really enjoy.
Yes.
And it's one of those. I'm a completionist when it comes to things like that. To the point where I like to watch them in the right order. And I also like to make sure I don't miss any of them. So because I wanted to watch Arrow and I wanted to watch Flash, and to a lesser extent wanted to watch Supergirl, I also had to watch Legends of Tomorrow, and then I had to watch Constantine just so I understood where he came into it. Black Lightning, all of them. I wanted to make sure I had all the pieces.
Yeah, you went overkill.
Yeah, and to the point then I think I watched the second season of Legends of Tomorrow, and then went, I can't do it anymore. I cannot watch this program. This is the biggest pile of garbage. Like Flash and Arrow in places got a bit stupid, but it was always just on the sort of fun enough, but not ridiculous that it put me off. Whereas Legends of Tomorrow is trying trying so badly to just be the most completely crazy thing they can be, to the point where I sent. I'll explain in a second how I came across this, but I sent Reg a link, which is a clip from, I think, season 4 of Legends of Tomorrow, where they're in some museum which is about the greatest evils of the 21st century, or the 20th century, I think it is. So you've got, obviously like Hitler and whatever, and just lots of all these. It's almost like Night at the Museum. From what I can tell without watching the episode, some of these characters come to life and they have to fight them. But as they're walking through one of the exhibits, they walk past this big glass window, and behind it is Sisqó. So Sisqó, the guy who did the Thong Song, and he's got some dancing ladies in a bikini behind him, and it's like they're like statues. And then one of the characters goes to press this button, presses it, and then suddenly they start moving like robots, and then start dancing and singing to the Thong Song. But then they get attacked, so they're fighting to the Thong Song, and one of the characters, one of the main people, is like breakdance fighting along to the Thong Song and fighting these, and it sums up everything that's wrong with that program.
It's not just that one of the people is using shake weights as the weapons of choice.
And there's some, again, I read the comments, and there's some relevance to that she finds them in a museum and is like, what are these? And they're like, oh, it's an exercise thing. And for some reason she has to then keep holding them and using them all through the episode. So yeah, it's bizarre. Go on, I'll circle back to my reason why I sent you this. So what's up with the season 6 trailer?
So
everything.
Yeah, obviously I'm completely out of the loop with Legends of Tomorrow because I watched half an episode and was like, this is fucking awful. Nope, I'm out. And then you sent me the link where they showed you that, but then they also shown you, I don't know if you're going to talk about the thing that made me just go, I can't watch the end of this trailer. At the end of this clip,
the fight
scene. No, sorry, the fight scene you sent me.
Oh, right, okay.
Because that just made me go, what are they even doing with this show? It was a big cuddly toy bear fighting a demon.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Like,
yeah, it's supposed to be like a sort of a Furby type thing, and
Furby Power Ranger.
Yeah, it's like a recurring character, the recurring thing throughout this. That happened in the season I did watch. Somehow this fluffy toy ends up going back to the Viking age when they're traveling, and they leave it there, and then it becomes their god, and they start worshipping this big fluffy bear. But anyway,
yeah. So then, season 6 trailer, I was like, you know what? I wonder how mental this has got since you showed me the big fluffy teddy fight. And it starts off with 2 girls getting married. But then some guy comes in and goes, oh, you didn't think you could have a wedding day without me on the spaceship, and then teleports into a bowling alley where apparently they need to beat this like unbeatable team at bowling. And then it cuts to the next snippet. It was like, are we really going to do this? And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And then you'll just take magic mushrooms. And they're like, oh, yeah, I can't believe and feel like I'm really tripping out. It's like, well, they are magic mushrooms you've just eaten. And then I turned it off. Because I was like, I can't do any more of this. And just like, how did something so good as the Arrowverse,
descend into such
fall into such chaos?
This is the problem.
Stupidity.
You've got to keep. It's the same. It's the Fast and the Furious syndrome. You've got to keep escalating things, and things end up just becoming that little bit more ridiculous. And every time you make it a bit more ridiculous, people start wanting more ridiculous. Like people go, oh, at some point they're going to be, cars in space. So they're like, all right, we need to have cars in space. And then people will start talking about there being time traveling cars. And then they'll be like, oh, that's great. That's Fast and the Furious 11 set up. Fast and the Furious goes back in time. And it's exactly like that. It just gets worse and worse and just cycles out of control. And you can't bring it back into normalcy at that point. But at least, I know, again, we don't even watch. I gave up on Arrow just before the finale, which is frustrating.
Yeah, I did. But
we don't even watch Flash anymore, or any of that, because it just the whole thing. But at least they managed to confine the complete ridiculousness to Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, it annoyed me because I really wanted to watch the Crisis on Middle Earth, not Middle
Exactly.
Earth.
That's where I got to.
And I just never got around to watching it. And I was like, no, that was the one build I was really excited for.
At the point I needed to watch it, Now TV took it off the service, and I just never got around to it. I think it's back on now, so I might get around to it, but we'll see.
So I can't now. I've hit that level.
So this is quite relevant. This is a nice little one more thing. We don't have these very often anymore, but this is the reason why I found that video of Sisqó on Legends Tomorrow. So this is an interview from years ago. I don't know exactly when, but a long time ago, where a reporter asked Sisqó, is there a real life inspiration behind the Thong Song? Okay. And this is apparently his answer. Have you heard of this? Have you read it?
No, I've not.
This is one of the greatest things I've ever read. So it was a cold winter's night, laughs. No, I don't remember if it was wintertime or not, but I had a date with a young lady, and I must have done something right over the course of dinner because I got treated to a more intimate gathering later on. We started to get all hot and heavy. She got undressed, and lo and behold, I see something that I never seen before. This article of clothing, one of the most glorious things I've ever seen in my life. I was like, what are you wearing? And she said, oh, this old thing, it's a thong. I think that was when my hair turned blonde. It was like in the Ten Commandments when Moses went to see the burning bush and came back down and his head was silver. I don't really remember the rest of the night because I was under the spell of said material. I was shell-shocked. And then the reporter says, sounds like a transformative experience. Back to Sisqó. She already had the cake, but she put the icing on it with the thong. That cemented it. I immediately went home to start writing the song and called my boys up. I saw something yesterday. Gather round. I'll tell you. Everybody leaned in. I told them, there's this new underwear girls are wearing, and it's called a thong. It was like the Fellowship of the Ring. Everyone was like, we got to go out and hunt for the one thong. They literally left in that moment. A few days later, my cousin, Kid, burst through the door. I thought there was a fire or somebody got hit by a car. And he was like, I was with this girl last night and guess what she gave me? And I quote, that thong. We burst out laughing. We laughed all the way to the bank. For the record, I gave him a big percentage of the song royalties. I so want that entire story to be true.
Wow. That's incredible.
Oh, great.
We just again go. I know we were going to end it, and I know we were going to end it. But just talking about stories you wish you were true and stuff. So I've been reading a lot of Bennig Ladies interviews recently, obviously because they launched a new album. And they've been going through, and there was a story about how Prince just sat and listened to Stunt and was claiming that if it wasn't for the Bennig Ladies, his direction wouldn't be the way that it went.
Okay.
And he was like, oh my God, he's like, Ed was like, I read this in an article, and I was like, no way would Prince have ever said that about us. Like, that can't be true. And he was like, I'm going to Google this. Like, I need to know that this is 100% accurate before I start spouting off that like Prince is claiming that we're an inspiration to him.
Okay.
And apparently it was like in an interview that they did years back, like prior to Stunt actually coming out. Ed and Steve were laughing with some interview and they're going like, who's your biggest inspiration and stuff? And apparently Ed just came out with some like waffle about how Prince said actually we're a main influence and we're going off on that. And he was like, so you can't believe everything that people say. But apparently Paul McCartney, which is an actual guaranteed thing apparently, Paul McCartney reckons that the Bennig Ladies can sing better than the Beatles. So there is that.
Okay, fair enough.
Like that's insane. But yeah, out of all those stories, I genuinely hope the Sisqó one is the truest of them all because that's just glorious.
It's fab, isn't it?
It is wunderbar. And I would say, it's an excellent way to wrap it up. But just before we do go,
okay,
can I just say happy 20th birthday to Max Payne?
Okay, sure.
Because it's 20 years ago.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It came out this week. I can't believe it's 20 years ago, and it's still incredible. Like, I love that to celebrate it. They actually got Sam Lake, who's the creative director and actually was the face of Max Payne, to dress up.
Oh, I didn't know he was the face. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the original face before they changed it.
Yeah. And yeah, he was going on about it. I was like, oh, I've got a massive urge to play Max Payne again. Like, even to the extent people are like, oh, Max Payne 3 is the worst, and it's like, it's such a bad game, it shouldn't even be involved in Max Payne. Max Payne 3 is a great game. Like, the Max Payne franchise is incredible. Like, they should really think one day about making a film about Max Payne.
Yeah.
Like, because I think if they do it right, it would be amazing. So I think now they should definitely think, how are we going to
get that guy out of the Uncharted movie to star in it?
Tom Holland. He looks nothing like Max Payne.
Fair enough.
I mean, he's flexible because he's Spider-Man, so obviously, he'll be able to good at flying around and do stuff.
True.
So, but yeah, I genuinely think that you could do that in the sort of Sin City-esque style film. With the proper noir narration going over it, proper Max Payne style, New York Minute, all that sort of stuff. It would be amazing. But yeah, we just need more Max Payne in the world. I'm so surprised they haven't.
I think its time has passed.
It's still incredible, and they need to reboot it. That's the one that they need. If they're going to do a remake of any game coming out, Max Payne, go back and just tart it up a bit. It's absolutely stunning still to play. So yeah, they genuinely need to either do a reboot or do a remake with the first one. Don't touch story or anything, but just tart it up a bit to make it played a bit nicer. But it is still so good. It
was great. I loved it. That was one of my favourite games on the original Xbox.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even the bloody Game Boy Advance version of it was great. It was just
it was isometric, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really, really good. Like, really enjoyed it. So yeah, we really need to do some more Max Payneage.
Is it on Steam?
It is on Steam.
Well, there you go, Reg. Get it bought.
There we go.
Yeah. First game to play on your new Steam Deck when you eventually get it.
Next year.
Q2 2022.
Win! Yep. I'm now looking. Max Payne 2 is on it as well. So there you go.
Nice.
And 3, obviously. But
there you go. Grab the trilogy, might as well.
Max Payne bundle 1 and 2, $9.99.
Bargain.
Just wunderbar. Max Payne 3, $17.99. Life is good.
I bet. $17.99 is a bit steep. Wait for a sale.
I mean, I bought the collector's edition, didn't I?
I know, with the big statue.
Yeah. It was Ash's birthday as well. And I think we went to, was it Rosie's? I think we went out celebrating your birthday when Max Payne 3 came out. And I got the DJ to do a shout out for someone's very special birthday, and Ash was like, "Oh," it was for Max Payne, because it was a release of Max Payne 3, and it was glorious. Yeah, she hates me again now. I was just back in the good books, but now reminder of when I was building. Apparently, she forgot about that. I never did, because it was a glorious tale. Yeah, she's giving me the finger now, but it was worth it. Always worth it. Our child destroyed your body, not just my child.
Anywho, thanks for listening.
Yeah, anyway, sorry.
Still with us.
Yeah. Just, it felt like we needed to do an elongated one.
Yeah.
So there you go. An hour and a half. One is fine.
It's been a while, hasn't it, for us to do a nice long bumper episode.
It's been a while.
Considering I didn't think I had anything to talk about.
I know, right? Thank God for G.I. Joe.
Exactly. That's Sisqó. Thank God for Sisqó.
I never thought we'd say that, Bryce.
No. Right. Anyway, thank you for listening. And we will see you again very soon.
See you and toodles.
Bye.